Hi, and welcome to Wellness Curated by Anshu Bahanda. If you don't have time for wellness, you may have to make time for illness. Today we're talking migraines. They are more than just a headache. They're crippling and they're painful, and millions suffer from them. We'll be looking at causes, triggers, and management and Ayurvedic solutions with Dr. Varalakshmi. Dr. Varalakshmi Yanamandra is an Ayurvedic doctor and practitioner in the UK. Welcome to our chat.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Anshu.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here today with us. So let's get into migraines. How would you explain a migraine? What is a migraine?
Migraine is a type of headache or a form of headache where one can experience pain on one side of their head. It can feel like a throbbing pain. Usually it starts in the beginning of the day and then can aggravate as the day goes on, like when as the sun becomes stronger and stronger. Some people can also experience like a aura, means before the migraine comes on, people can feel like, lightheadedness or heaviness in the head. Some can experience nausea. And in some people who have severe migraines, sometimes it can also lead to vomiting sensation. So these are some of the common symptoms and how you can actually identify the migraine.
Okay. And from what I understand, I mean, with people who get it severely, it can be debilitating. It can go on for days. And, some of the symptoms you've said, it can be so severe that I have friends who can't even let a sliver of light come in. So tell me, what is the common cause of a migraine?
So modern medicine or, conventional medicine says that there are some triggers. As per Ayurveda, we have a condition which actually Ayurveda talks about a similar condition which has similar kind of symptoms compared to migraine. So I would like to bring upon that. And Ayurveda clearly explains some common causes that I also see in my practice, which could usually trigger a migraine for someone who has that history. Yeah. So there is a condition called Surya Varta, which is Surya means sun, Varta means like as it goes on. So it is triggered by sun. So same like how I explained, the migraine starts in the beginning of the day, and then as it becomes noon or so, it becomes more and more. And if we look at the triggers or causes, when someone spends a lot of time in the sun, like direct sunlight, a lot of my patients, when I ask them, what did you do before having this migraine, they say that, oh, yesterday I went to, some beach or somewhere, or I was spending a lot of time in the sun. So when the sunlight actually hits you in the eye, means direct sun exposure is one of the very, very common causes that we come across. Yeah.
Okay.
And also food. Related to food, Ayurveda explains that foods which are very sharp, like, sharp means think of spices, but spices like red chilies, very, very spicy curry, or if you ate a pickle, which is also very spicy, like it touches, explodes on your tongue. So that kind of food, if you are consuming in excess before leading up to that, that is also one of the trigger or cause.
Okay.
So these are some of the common causes. We will try to touch upon them as we, move forward in the conversation as well.
Okay. So my understanding was that one of the other common causes is stress. Is that right or not?
So stress can act as a trigger in a way that if the stress is making someone lose their sleep, because sleep is another a very important factor, right, for our hormones. So people who struggle, like at least a few of the clients that I work with are women, and they often get a migraine before their period comes on. So our hormones
Okay.
for women, hormones play a very important role. And if you have any stress which leading up to your period and you're not able to sleep on time, so which could cause the fluctuations in our hormone levels as well, right? So
Okay.
that way, like an indirect cause to cause a fluctuation in our hormones, and which could lead to having a migraine. So hormonal imbalances are also one of the primary reasons for especially women having migraine. It is a very important thing that we need to understand.
Okay. So, yeah, so like you're saying to me that it could be hormonal imbalances. I'm sure there's been so much research done on migraines. What exactly happens to the body when you're having a migraine? Is that something which we know?
So like there are different things, and chemically it is said that it is a neurological condition, means there is
I see.
like neurochemicals which are being released, and it's different. Migraine for me and migraine for someone else, as an example, could be different.
Right.
Like earlier we talked
Okay.
about the severity, right? And the cause
Mm-hmm.
that is leading up to having the migraine is also different. So as far as
Okay.
research and biology concerned, they don't know what, from the conventional medicine, as I said earlier, they don't know what exactly triggers a migraine for XYZ. They only know this
Okay.
broad spectrum of causes and things like that. So
Okay.
that's why Ayurveda, I think, has more explaining and understanding about um, migraine kind of headache. And there is one other cause that I see prevalent in my practice would be the consumption of food, or consumption of certain combinations of food. We call them incompatible
Right.
foods, or
Okay.
viruddha aharas in Ayurveda. Viruddha means opposite. So when you eat
Okay.
foods which have opposite qualities, for example, banana plus milk, there is banana milkshake, right? So Ayurveda says that as a combination, this food will not get digested inside our stomach, and it could sit inside our stomach and turn sore. So combinations like this, banana plus milk, which have opposite qualities. You want to ask something?
Okay. I wanted to ask you, when you say opposite qualities, will you explain them for our audience? Because not everyone is familiar with Ayurveda.
Yes, absolutely. So milk has cold qualities. Like Ayurveda describes that milk is cold and sweet. Milk is sweet, we know that, right? And then banana is also sweet, but it is heavy. And as a fruit, when a fruit is combined with dairy is also a heavy ingredient. So whenever we eat any sorts of fruit, 99% of the fruits out there, when we eat them, even though they have sweet taste, more sweet or sour taste, or different taste, when we eat them, when they go inside our stomach, they turn sour. So this particular combination, milk is a heavy protein, banana is a heavy fruit. When you combine them and then eat them, when it goes inside to get digested, it takes a
Mhm.
longer period of time. Yeah. So
Okay. So
did
you're
that
saying
make
that
sense?
milk is cold and heavy, while the fruit, is it hot? Is a banana considered hot?
Banana is considered, yes, banana has opposite qualities, but also because it is heavy, banana
It's
is
also heavy.
heavy.
Okay.
So a simple understanding, underlying factor that Ayurveda talks about whenever it comes to digesting any sorts of foods out there, they have to be
Mm-hmm.
easier to digest, means lighter. Foods which have
Okay.
lagu guna or lighter qualities are easier to get digested, and they actually quickly get absorbed into our tissues without actually sitting somewhere. So when these foods sit inside our stomach for a very long time, that's when problems like this migraine, we also talk about congestion, like people who get sinusitis and
Mm-hmm.
rhinitis. So these kind of problems. Um, Incompatible food combinations is one of a very common reason in the modern day, for
Okay.
these kind of conditions.
Okay. So, and by incompatible food condition, you mean, And that is something that someone has to go to an Ayurvedic practitioner for, because you wouldn't know what is necessarily cooling and what is heating or what is incompatible, correct?
So there is a lot of information. I'm sure that people who are a little bit familiar with Ayurveda, actually, this is a very important concept that, even on my page, I share a lot about this kind of information, and it's a very common knowledge. What I'm trying to say is it's a common knowledge, and most people who know a little bit about Ayurveda understand at least the most common one. So banana and milk is a common one. Milk and fish is another one. So like
interesting. Interesting. Because some of the sauces that people have with fish are made of cream. So you're saying that shouldn't work. Dairy and fish should not be combined.
So proteins of two different origins. A very simple fact here is that like fish is like from a different protein source compared to dairy, right? Even though both are animal protein. So they have different qualities. And food combining is a very, again, a popular theory, and most people know about it.
Right. Yes. Yes, but the way food combining is done in the West is sometimes different from the way we do it in Ayurveda, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
But as you probably know, I'm a big fan of Ayurveda, and because I've grown up with it. And what I love about Ayurveda is just that by getting the body back to balance, so much just sorts itself out. But I wanted to ask you, from my experience, things take a lot longer in Ayurveda to kick in, so to say. So tell me, so if someone comes to you or starts following Ayurvedic practices for migraine issues that they have, how long do you think it's going to take them in general? Is it going to be 3 weeks? Is it going to be 6 weeks? Is it going to be 3 months before they see a difference?
Actually, in some cases, it would be instant, Anshu, but it depends on each and every one. Like some people might be having migraine for years together, which is a chronic condition, and they might be having other predisposed imbalances as well. If the migraine is a let alone condition and they don't have other associated things like hormonal imbalances or things like that, it actually takes just within within weeks, 1 or 2 weeks. It doesn't take longer than that.
Because and you can sort it out, completely get it out of their lives.
Completely to get it out of their life, it all depends on the person, because they need to make lifestyle changes. Like, for example, this food combinations, right? If you're used to having this, let's say, banana milkshake as part of your morning breakfast or something, then even if you realize that once you take it off your diet or in your lifestyle, you would take time for your body to get used to this new adaptation, right? So it is from the person who is making this lifestyle changes who will require that time. So, but if we want, Ayurveda can work fast, but you have to take each and individual person differently. Some will have different health conditions, and some will have very few conditions, which doesn't take long. So a very difficult question to answer. To give say that migraine can be reversed in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I cannot say that. But yes, there is a possibility. It can quickly be sorted, or it can take time depending on that individual and their illnesses or conditions.
So the reason I'm asking you and I'm pushing you to give me these answers is because I've seen miracles happen with Ayurveda. That's why I'm such a fan of Ayurveda. I know sometimes it's taken a long time, but I've seen absolute miracles, things that they were told there's no cure for anywhere in the world have been sorted out with Ayurveda. That's why I'm pushing you to see how long would it, could it, and
I can give you
Could
an
it?
example. Like for
Yeah,
me, with my patients, or if someone comes to me with migraine, it might take maybe a month or 2 months, as long as they're willing to adapt their
amazing.
diet and lifestyle. It won't take longer than that. But
Now
modern day
that's
is that.
amazing. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Because I know people who've had it for a lifetime, and it's literally crippling when someone has it badly. So that's amazing that you're saying you can help them in a month for at least to start seeing changes.
Yeah, for them to start seeing changes would be within a week or 2 weeks. To reverse the condition, yes, it can take up to maybe two months, depending on how long they have this. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of, you were just mentioning lifestyle changes that you would recommend, one being, the food changes. Can you give us some more lifestyle changes that you would recommend to people of
Okay.
our generation, to the youngsters?
Of course. So one of the very other thing I think earlier I didn't get to touch upon is the fact that nowadays, when we are eating food, we are doing it in rush, right? Sometimes we don't have enough time to sit and eat, but the other times you are so busy. Or I see that even in with many of my clients, even though they feel hungry, they withhold that hunger, and they try to say that, oh, I have this meeting, that meeting, I need to do this job, that job, and you actually postpone your hunger, right? One of the very important cause or reason for having a headache, any sort of
Mm-hmm.
headache, and I'm telling you this, 90% of my clients who are modern, like millennials and zillennials, they all
Mm-hmm.
do this one day, one or the other time. And once actually you correct this simple thing of not ignoring your hunger, um, it does miracles to our body, not just our, like, to help with migraine, but also to do with our digestion. So I would say, because it doesn't cost you anything to actually make this simple change, right? It does take
Right.
some practicality and adaptations in your timetable or whatever, but if you can block that 10 minutes every day for your lunch, right? It doesn't take more than that. But this simple adaptation has done miracles to my patients. So many of people who has acidity issues, who
Mm-hmm.
has digestion abnormalities. So I would say all of us has to be
Yeah.
mindful when it comes to our body, because these natural urges like hunger, going to toilet, we should not withhold them. When they come, we need to acknowledge them and do the necessary thing, right? So yeah, that is the
So,
first thing I
so
would say.
okay, go ahead. I will ask you my questions after, but yeah, go ahead.
That is the one thing. And the other thing is, Ayurveda has emphasized upon lifestyle. So when I say lifestyle, it's not just about like, oh, like wake up on time, or like have a good lifestyle, like doing exercise, because the modern way of understanding of having a good lifestyle versus how experienced, or how to say, clarified, or how much detail Ayurveda puts upon lifestyle is different. So there is a whole concept
Okay.
of dinacharya. Dinacharya means, dina means day,
Mm-hmm.
charya means routine. So Ayurveda has clearly explained what you should do for you to lead like
Mm-hmm.
100 years. Say that, if someone comes to you
Mm-hmm.
and says that, oh, I want to live 100 years, what should I do? Ayurveda has already told us what we need to do for living 100 years or 200 years. So this daily
Wow.
ritual, dinacharya, which I am talking about, it clearly talks about in each and every season. Imagine that, not just about like, oh, say that, oh, in winter you do this. They didn't leave it
Mm-hmm.
at that. They talked about each and every season, and they also talked about different climatic variations, like countries like you and me are in UK, right? And some
Mm-hmm.
of them, whoever is watching or listening, they must be in India somewhere. So they talked about the
Right.
countries and the type of lifestyle changes that one should make depending on where you are, and also the season. So These dinacharya and rutucharya, seasonal adaptations, play a huge role in avoiding lifestyle conditions like even the migraine.
Okay.
So I would say one should focus on that. One can start, making simple changes with those, things.
Okay. So you're saying one of the lifestyles could be the food combining. Another one would probably be eat when you're hungry. Is that right?
Yes, that's it.
And the third one is to work out a daily routine that works for you for where you are and what the season is.
Absolutely. Yes, that's it. Yes, you got that right.
Okay, but I have a question for you there, because this is interesting, because Ayurveda always says eat when you're hungry, right? Because our body is producing the juices to digest our food. But then how does intermittent fasting fit into Ayurveda?
So fasting is considered as a therapeutic thing. It's not like a just like taking a medicine, right? Fasting is also
Okay.
a therapeutic thing. Means you do it
Therapeutic, yes.
when there is a problem inside your body. You don't do it every single day. So you do it
Right.
if and when needed. Maybe that makes more sense. So you do it
Okay.
when your body needs, let's say that, for example, in the modern day, intermittent fasting has made amazing changes for people. And I see a lot of, people actually reversing their conditions, and it's amazing. But from Ayurvedic perspective, you work with your body. Even the fasting
Okay.
has to suit your body. So while we can say that there are so many people who benefited from fasting, there are also small set of people for whom it doesn't suit them. I have clients who have done fasting and has faced problems because it doesn't suit them. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So you're just saying it's just something, you don't do it as a lifestyle, intermittent fasting, right? And
You
that
have to
when
do
you
it
do
considering, yeah. So considering same like, seasons, there are certain seasons that you can do fasting. And at the same time, you as an individual, because Ayurveda is much more like you as an individual are completely different to someone who is sitting next to you. Even though they might be wearing same kind of clothes, they might be wearing same jewelry, everything, but still you are not a mirror image of the person whoever is sitting next to you. There are minute biological differences that exist each and every one of us, right? So it's important you consider these things. Oh, whether fasting will suit for my digestive system, for the season I'm in, for the country I'm living in. So these are all important aspects that we should always be aware of before trying any of the things, fasting, keto, all these things.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, so we've talked a bit about what to do before to prevent getting a migraine. Yeah, all the lifestyle changes you've talked about. What happens when people are getting a migraine? Because I've known people to not get out of a room for 4 or 5 days because it's been so severe. So how would you recommend they manage it at that point?
So when someone is having an extreme migraine trigger or attack, the best thing is to rest. One of the very important thing that will help is to rest. I think we all know that. And the second thing is avoiding light, because light is one of the first or very common trigger for most people who struggle with migraine. Avoiding light, especially the sunlight. So that is a very important thing. And the third thing is hydrating, means especially drinking warm water which is boiled and cooled down. If they don't, some people can't take the warm water when it is warm as well, when you're having migraine, and some people feel it actually helps them. And the one of the important thing that many people or people who are new to migraine or who don't actually understand is that the migraine happens due to the things that you do like 2-3 days before what you did leads up to the migraine, right?
Yes. Yes.
So understanding the triggers, like I talked about a couple of them, like the sunlight, we have touched upon that, and we have touched upon the food combinations and sleep, like ignoring sleep or not sleeping for 3-4 days or 2-3 days you're busy and you didn't get enough sleep. There is a chance that you could end up with a migraine in a day or two. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you know that you have a history of migraine, it's a very good practice to keep a diary and then note down these triggers. These triggers play an important role, right? So that you are aware and you can ensure that, oh, if you know that you spend some time or you're going to spend some time in the sun where there is direct sunlight effect for you, then you can wear some sunglasses, carry an umbrella, wear a hat. So these are very simple things that we can do, right? But you can avoid the trigger of migraine. So yeah, I think that helps a little bit.
But during the migraine, basically you said 3. You said rest, stay away from sunlight, and what was the third one you said was drink warm water or water?
Yeah,
yes. So is there any medicine you would recommend to people or anything that you feel can help shorten it besides these 3?
So I tend to not share any medicines or things like that. But what I would recommend is that constipation is one of a very common other trigger that could lead to having migraine. Yeah. So someone is not opened up their bowel. So it is a good idea or taking a simple triphala for a day or two if you are having very severe constipation and then you have a history of migraine, that could actually help to take some of the severity of that attack or help to lessen it a bit more, the migraine while they are having them. And the other thing is not to what we call that, we talked about that heavy combinations and things like that, right? So while they're having a migraine, it is best to avoid foods which are same, like heavier to digest, and to stick to simple food, simply warm cooked food which is go smoothly, like let's say soup, which is very easy, right? Or some homemade rice noodles, something which just quickly gets digested and doesn't cause any obstruction to the channels, because that can increase the migraine more. And I think, and spices like shonti are very helpful. Shonti is dry ginger. Shonti is dry ginger. Yes. Dry ginger. Yeah, not ginger.
Dry ginger.
Yeah, fresh ginger is different to dry ginger. So dry ginger.
So you're saying ginger powder?
Yeah. It's like the ginger is being dried and then they make the powder. So dried ginger powder is a little bit different. Yeah, but that is very, very helpful for someone who has let's say that who tend to have digestive problems or constipation, who also have this migraine kind of thing. So whenever they're consuming things like milk or something that is heavier, just a pinch of dry ginger on top of these heavy foods can make them to digest it easily. So it's a very simple practice, but it does help for the to clear the obstruction inside our channels. So
lovely. That's very, very useful. And I just going to trouble you to talk a little more about dry ginger. Would you recommend it's something that people who tend to get migraines, or if they feel something coming on, should take?
Oh yes. So There is also a remedy, very simple remedy that even my grandmother used to do when we were small. So just you can add a little bit of water to the dry ginger and make it a paste, like, like a lepa, means like how we make a mask kind of thing. And then actually you can put it on your forehead, like apply it on your forehead. It actually helps to reduce the severity of the migraine up to some extent.
Okay, wonderful. So make a lap or like a paste, like you would do with the mask. And
yeah,
put it
just
in your
with
forehead.
warm water or
Wonderful.
just water, dry ginger powder, and then apply on the forehead. And and whenever you're going out also, it's a good practice to cover the ears. For a season like autumn, if you're prone to migraines, it's a very good idea to cover your head here, like a scarf or something, or cap, hat, but also ear. So putting small cotton in your ears is very helpful.
If you're prone to migraines.
In general, if prone to migraines, sinusitis, any kind of headaches, it's a very good practice to protect our ears, because Ayurveda says that ears play a very important role in pain, because Vata, one of the doshas, is related to our ears as well. So whenever our ears come in contact with cold air, that's when it triggers the Vata, and it could, cause migraine. It could cause sinusitis. So we can avoid all those kind of things. We can just protect our ears.
So when it's cold, so autumn or winter, you cover the ears, not the rest of the time.
It's because if in general in India or places where it is extremely hot or so, you don't need to do this. But I think most people, whoever is watching, or like in general, even I have a trigger for migraines, but I am careful with my choices. Like one of the things that I would do is to cover my ears and always wear a cap or hat, or even if I don't have, at least I'll always carry scarf, so that I cover my ears and the head at the same time.
Yeah, that is very, very useful, because I get sinusitis, not related to migraine, but covering the ears and head really helps. And I just worked it out instinctively. So yes, that's very useful information. And it's amazing that Ayurveda says that. So thank you for that. But any last advice to the people listening in before we call it a day today?
Yes, of course. I think we forgot to touch upon, or rather I forgot to touch upon Nasya when I was talking about this daily routines and then seasonal routines. An excellent practice that I talk a lot about it, even on my Instagram, every chance I get. Nasya means putting oil inside our nose. Ayurveda says nose is like a gateway to our head, because the problems like headaches, sinusitis, all these things are related to head, right? So this simple daily practice of putting warm oil, the normal oil that is recommended would be either Anutaila. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Anutaila, or Anutaila, or simply sesame oil. Even mustard oil can be used. They have to be warmed up a little bit and then used. But this simple practice can help. Like I have seen, rather I have helped to reverse cases with extreme, like people who can't go out without using a nasal spray. With Nasya, in my practice, I was able to help so many people like that by just simply they start putting this nose oil, and they were able to correct the immunity issue as well. So it's an amazing practice.
That's very interesting. What about ghee? What about warm ghee in the nostrils?
Yes, ghee usually is recommended for babies and kids who can't actually take the oil, or because that can be a little bit strong for them. Yeah, ghee can also be used, but these are specific. Especially Anutaila is a very good oil that we recommend for like healthy person.
So Anu Tela is obviously an Ayurvedic oil, right?
Yes, yes.
And for people who don't have access to that, you're saying we could either put mustard oil or sesame oil.
Yes.
Just a few drops in each nostril.
Just 2 drops in each nostril. Generally on empty stomach in the morning. If you're someone who has to go out, it would be ideal to do this before you go out or head out. It's really helpful. It also acts as, like, fats usually acts as a protective barriers. Think of this oil is like, because you get sneezes or you get triggers of these allergies and stuff whenever mucosa inside our nose comes in contact with this, let's say pollen or some other allergen, right? But this fat, whichever you put before you go out, acts as this barrier between that allergen and your nose. So even logically as well, this is a very good practice, and it keeps our nose moist. So when there is more moisture inside our nose, our body can quickly fight against this things that come in contact with our nose as well. When it is more dry, that's when we are prone to getting, sneezes and allergies. You will get sick quicker. So, yeah.
Okay, that was such an amazing chat. Thank you. I hope that people will find this useful, because like I said, there's so many people I know who suffer so much. So thank you so much for that chat.